9 individuals across 10,000 years have held supreme command over the armies of humanity or the armies that sought to destroy it. Some were Primarchs. Some were mortals. One was a god. Here is every supreme commander in Warhammer 40K explained. Let's break this down. Arcadian Leontis, Lord Commander Solar. He is the most powerful mortal military commander currently active in the Imperium of Man, and he rides into battle on the back of a cybernetic horse named Constantine. Lord Solar Arcadian Leontis holds the rank of Lord Commander Solar of the Astra Militarum, the supreme commander of all Imperial Guard forces within the Segmentum Solar, the heart of the Imperium, and the region that contains Holy Terra itself. His jurisdiction technically extends only to the Segmentum Solar, but Leontis has led campaigns far beyond its borders, arguing that protecting Terra requires eliminating threats before they reach the doorstep. The logic has held. Nobody above him has complained because the results speak in the only language the Imperium understands. Victory tallies measured in worlds reclaimed and enemies exterminated. Leontis is unaugmented. He is not a space marine. He is not a Primarch. He is not a custodian or a psyker or a being enhanced by the warp. He is a human being, old, maintained by rejuvenate treatments and concealed bionics, kept at physical peak through discipline rather than genetic engineering, who commands billions of soldiers through sheer intellectual brilliance, political maneuvering, and a century of accumulated experience. He is a polyhistor and a scholar of war whose strategic mind has produced hundreds of confirmed Imperial victories. He rides Constantine, his decades-old cybernetic steed clad in gleaming armor plate, into active combat zones because he believes a supreme commander who does not share the battlefield with his soldiers does not deserve to command them. The Lord Solar is the Imperium's answer to a question the setting keeps asking. Can a mortal human, unenhanced by any superhuman process, hold command authority over the largest military force in galactic history and survive? Leontis has survived for over a century. He is tired. He knows he will never see the fruits of his labor. He commands anyway. Subscribe and tell us in the comments which Supreme Commander you think was the most effective. Let us keep going. Warmaster Slaydo. The first Warmaster of the Sabbat Worlds Crusade. The man who looked at a region of space consumed by chaos and decided to take it back one world at a time through sustained conventional military force. Slaydo was appointed Warmaster by the High Lords of Terra to lead the crusade into the Sabbat Worlds, a cluster of systems in the Segmentum Pacificus that had been overrun by the forces of chaos under the Archon Urlach Gar. The appointment carried the weight of the title's history. The rank of Warmaster had been cursed since Horus turned it into a synonym for betrayal 10,000 years earlier. Many in the Imperium considered the title an ill omen. Slaydo took it anyway because the crusade required supreme authority, and supreme authority required a title that no subordinate could argue with. The Sabbat Worlds Crusade is the setting of Dan Abnett's Gaunt's Ghost series, one of the most celebrated novel series in the Black Library catalog, and Slaydo's command sets the stage for everything that follows. He was a charismatic, aggressive commander who believed in leading from operational proximity to the front lines, maintaining a command style that kept him close enough to the fighting to make real-time decisions, but far enough to maintain strategic oversight. The Crusade's early years under Slaydo were marked by rapid advances and brutal fighting. Then Slaydo was killed. He died in combat during the assault on Balhau, struck down in the battle that broke the Archon's primary defensive line. With his dying breath, Slaydo named his successor, Macaroth, passing the rank of Warmaster to the man he believed could finish what he had started. Warmaster Macaroth. Inheriting a crusade is harder than starting one. Warmaster Macaroth received the rank from Slaydo's dying hands and immediately faced 2 wars. One against the Chaos forces in the Sabbat Worlds, and one against the political establishment within his own command structure that did not believe he deserved the title. Slaydo's death created a power vacuum that Macaroth's appointment only partially filled. Several high-ranking officers in the Crusade's general staff believed they should have been named Warmaster instead, and the resulting political friction consumed resources and attention that should have been directed at the enemy. Macaroth's command style was different from Slaydo's. Where Slaydo was aggressive and charismatic, Macaroth was calculating and politically astute. He understood that a Warmaster's authority was not automatic. It had to be enforced through demonstrated competence and, when necessary, the quiet removal of officers who posed a threat to the chain of command. The Sabbat Worlds Crusade under Macaroth became a grinding, attritional campaign that stretched across decades. Worlds were taken, lost, retaken, and lost again. The Chaos forces under successive Archons adapted, regrouped, and counterattacked. The Crusade became the defining military engagement of the late 41st millennium, a war so large and so protracted that entire Imperial Guard regiments were raised, trained, deployed, and annihilated without Macaroth ever knowing their names. The Warmaster's burden is not the fighting, it is the mathematics, the calculation of how many lives a world is worth, how many regiments a sector costs, how many years of victory requires. Macaroth has been making those calculations for decades, and the Crusade is still not finished. Rogal Dorn, Praetorian of Terra. When the heresy broke and half the Imperium turned traitor, the Emperor needed someone to hold the gate. He chose Rogal Dorn. The Primarch of the Imperial Fists was named Praetorian of Terra, a title that granted him supreme authority over the defense of the throne world, and by extension, supreme command over every loyalist military asset in the Sol system. Dorn did not lead a crusade. He built a fortress. The Imperial Palace, already enormous, was transformed under Dorn's direction into the most heavily fortified structure in human history. Walls were thickened, kill zones were expanded, defensive batteries were calibrated to overlapping fields of fire, and the entire surface of Terra was restructured into a layered defensive network designed to absorb the full force of 9 traitor legions and the armies that followed them. Dorn's genius was not creative, it was reductive. He stripped away everything that was not essential to the defense and reinforced what remained. When Perturabo's Iron Warriors arrived to tear down what Dorn had built, the two Primarchs fought a war of architecture, one building, one demolishing, each one understanding the other's methods with an intimacy that only a rival can possess. Dorn held Terra, the walls bent but did not break, the palace endured long enough for the Emperor to confront Horus aboard the Vengeful Spirit, and the siege ended with the traitors in retreat. Dorn's reward was grief. He found the Emperor's broken body. He carried it to the Golden Throne. He spent the following years hunting traitors during the Scouring, and the bitterness of having held the line and still lost his father consumed him. He later disappeared during a Black Crusade, his skeletal hand recovered as a relic. The wall that saved the Imperium was built by a man who never recovered from the fact that saving the Imperium was not enough to save his father. Abaddon the Despoiler, Warmaster of Chaos. He inherited the most cursed title in the galaxy and made it mean something again. Abaddon was first captain of the Sons of Horus, Horus Lupercal's most trusted field commander, the warrior who fought at the Warmaster's side from the earliest days of the Great Crusade through the final assault on Terra. When Horus was destroyed by the Emperor aboard the Vengeful Spirit, Abaddon was the one who recovered his body. He watched the Sons of Horus fracture. He watched the Legion descend into infighting, shrine worship, and cloning attempts to resurrect their dead Primarch. And then he destroyed the clone, repainted the Legion's armor black, renamed them the Black Legion, and declared himself Warmaster of Chaos. The title was deliberate. Abaddon did not want to erase Horus. He wanted to surpass him. Where Horus had relied on demonic power and chaos patronage, Abaddon refused the direct gifts of any single chaos god. He wielded the demon sword Drakenyen and wore the talon of Horus, his former master's lightning claw, but he served chaos undivided on his own terms rather than kneeling to any one god. 13 Black Crusades he launched against the Imperium across 10,000 years. The community spent decades mocking them as failures. The lore eventually revealed they were not failures. Each crusade had a specific strategic objective, and most achieved it, destroying Cadian pylons, securing artifacts, weakening the Imperium's defenses in preparation for the 13th. The 13th Black Crusade broke Cadia. The planet fell. The Cicatrix Maledictum, a galaxy-spanning warp rift, tore reality in half. Abaddon accomplished what Horus never did. He split the Imperium. The Warmaster of Chaos is not a title the Imperium wants to acknowledge, but Abaddon has earned it in the only currency the galaxy accepts. On Lord Solar Macarius. 1,000 worlds in 7 years. That single statistic places Macharius among the greatest military commanders in the history of the Imperium, and it does not capture what makes him tragic. Lord Solar Macarius was granted the rank of Lord Commander Solar, and, subsequently, Warmaster, by the Senatorum Imperialis to lead the Macharian Crusade at the very edge of the galaxy in the Segmentum Pacificus. The crusade began around 392-41 and ended in 399-41. In those 7 years, Macharius conquered nearly 1,000 new worlds for the Imperium, an expansion rate that rivaled the Great Crusade itself. His tactical brilliance was matched only by his charisma. The troops loved him. They followed him into engagements that should have been unwinnable because he fought alongside them, bled alongside them, and won alongside them. He was not a Primarch, he was not enhanced, he was a mortal human who commanded mortal humans and achieved results that made the demigods of the Great Crusade look measured by comparison. Then the crusade reached the edge of the galaxy. Macharius wanted to continue into the halo stars, the uncharted void beyond the Imperium's borders where no Imperial force had ever ventured. His officers refused. His troops, exhausted after 7 years of continuous campaigning, would not follow him further. Macharius fell to his knees and wept. The greatest general the Imperium had produced since the Primarchs, standing at the edge of the known galaxy, crying because his army had finally found a limit he could not overcome. He died shortly after. The causes debated: assassination, illness, or simply the weight of a body that had been pushed beyond what any unaugmented human should endure. The Imperium canonized him as a saint. The Macharian heresy that followed his death, as his generals fought over the territories he had conquered, proved that the 1,000 worlds he had taken were held together by his will alone, and without him, they came apart. Roboute Guilliman, Lord Commander of the Imperium. He has held the title twice, 10,000 years apart. No other being in Imperial history can make that claim. The first time, Guilliman received the rank from Rogal Dorn in the aftermath of the Horus heresy. The Emperor was interred on the Golden Throne. The Imperium was shattered, someone had to rebuild it, and Guilliman was the only Primarch with the administrative temperament to attempt it. He created the Codex Astartes, splitting the remaining Space Marine legions into smaller, more manageable chapters to prevent any single commander from ever wielding enough military force to threaten the Imperium again. He restructured the Imperial Army into the Astra Militarum and the Imperial Navy, separating ground and void forces into distinct chains of command. He established the Senatorum Imperialis and laid the administrative groundwork that would govern the Imperium for the next 10 millennia. Then Fulgrim, his brother-turned-demon prince, poisoned him with a blade coated in a toxin that no technology in the Imperium could cure. Guilliman was placed in stasis, frozen at the moment before death, and interred in a shrine on his homeworld of Macragge. For 10,000 years, he did not move. Then Belisarius Cawl, the Archmagos Dominus of the Adeptus Mechanicus, and the Inari, a faction of Oildari devoted to their death god Ennead, combined their knowledge to heal the wound and revive him. Guilliman awoke in a galaxy he did not recognize. The secular Imperium he had built was now a theocratic nightmare that worshipped his father as a god, exactly the outcome the Great Crusade had been designed to prevent. He wept. Then he went to work. He was named Lord Commander of the Imperium and Imperial Regent for the second time, launched the Indomitus Crusade with the new Primaris Space Marines that Cawl had developed during his 10,000 years of stasis, and set about trying to repair an Imperium that had spent 10 millennia rotting from within. Guilliman is the Supreme Commander who has done the job twice and found it worse the second time. Horus Lupercal, Warmaster. The title was created for him. Beyond him, it will never be free of him. Horus was the first Primarch the Emperor recovered after the scattering. He was raised at the Emperor's side, taught by the Emperor's hand, and loved by the Emperor with a depth that no other Primarch received. When the Emperor withdrew from the Great Crusade to work on the Webway project beneath the Imperial Palace, he named Horus Warmaster, Supreme Commander of all Imperial military forces, the voice of the Emperor in the field, the son trusted above every other son to finish the conquest of the galaxy. The title carried authority over the other Primarchs, the legions, the Imperial Army, the Mechanicum, and every other military asset the Imperium possessed. Horus was not simply promoted, he was crowned. The Triumph of Olenor, where the Emperor announced the appointment before the assembled might of the Imperium, was the largest military celebration in human history. The Chaos Gods watched it and began planning. On Davian, a poisoned blade felled Horus. Erebus arranged his corruption. The Chaos Gods showed him visions of a future where the Emperor was worshipped as a god and the Primarchs were forgotten. Horus chose to believe the visions because the alternative was trusting a father who had left without explanation. The Warmaster turned the Imperium's own armies against it. 9 legions followed him. Trillions died across 9 years of civil war. At the Siege of Terra, Horus lowered his shields in a final challenge. The Emperor boarded the vengeful spirit. Sanguinius died trying to reach his brother first. The Emperor held back, unwilling to destroy his most beloved son, until he saw Horus kill a mortal human without thought and understood that nothing of his son remained. The Emperor obliterated Horus's soul. The body fell. The title survived, cursed for 10,000 years. Every Warmaster appointed since has carried the ghost of Horus's betrayal in the syllables of their rank. The Imperium tried to replace the title with Lord Solar, Lord Commander, anything that did not carry the stain. But the original meaning endures. Warmaster, the rank that was built for a son who used it to murder his father's dream. The Emperor of mankind. Above all ranks, above all titles, above everything on this list, and everything in the galaxy that produced it. The Emperor of mankind is the supreme commander of the Imperium, not because he was appointed or elected or granted authority by a political body. He is the supreme commander because he created the Imperium, designed its military structure, led the Great Crusade personally from the front lines, conquered thousands of worlds, created the 20 Primarchs and their legions, unified scattered humanity under a single banner for the first time in its history, and then was mortally wounded by the son he trusted most, and has spent 10,000 years dying on a golden chair so that the species he built everything for would not be extinguished by the darkness he failed to stop. The Emperor's military career began before recorded history. He is a perpetual and effectively immortal being who has walked the earth for tens of thousands of years under countless identities, guiding humanity from the shadows. When the Age of Strife shattered interstellar civilization, the Emperor revealed himself, unified Terra through the Unification Wars, created the Space Marines, forged alliances with the Mechanicum of Mars, and launched the Great Crusade to reclaim the galaxy. He led from the front. He fought alongside his sons. He was the most powerful psyker in human history, capable of feats that bordered on divine, projecting his will across the galaxy, destroying armies with a thought, binding demons with a glance. Then he withdrew to build the Webway, a project that would have freed humanity from the warp forever. The project was destroyed when Magnus' warning shattered its wards. The heresy followed. The Emperor confronted Horus. He won. He also died, in every way that matters except the biological. The Golden Throne sustains his body. 1,000 psychers are sacrificed to him every day to fuel the Astronomicon, the psychic beacon that allows Imperial ships to navigate the warp. He is worshipped as a god by the very Imperium he built specifically to reject the concept of divinity. The supreme irony of the Warhammer 40K setting is that the Emperor's greatest failure, the Horus heresy, produced the exact outcome he designed the entire Great Crusade to prevent. A theocratic, stagnant, superstitious empire that worships him as a deity while he sits on a throne, unable to speak, unable to act, unable to correct the misunderstanding that has defined 10,000 years of human suffering. The Emperor of mankind is not a supreme commander in the active sense. He does not give orders. He does not direct campaigns. He does not review tactical briefings or approve troop deployments. He sits on the Golden Throne and sustains the Astronomicon and holds the Webway breach closed and keeps the demons from flooding into Terra. And every command decision made in his name for the last 10,000 years has been made by someone else interpreting what they believe he would want. The supreme commander of the Imperium has been silent for 10 millennia. The Imperium built a religion around that silence and called it faith.